This is part 2 of the October 5th reading for 2025 called Yesterday's Baggage, and I was trying to illustrate why a daily inventory. Step 10. It's October, it's the 10th month for this book. If I'll let it, is trying to tell us all about the 10th step, which says these things. It says, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I think the promptly part there goes hand in hand with today's reading for October 5th, which is the 10th month, and it's called Yesterday's Baggage. Promptly admitting a wrong. This is what I was trying to illustrate, is that prevention would be the most, if you could just prevent any wrongdoing, bad feelings of coming up on anybody's part during the day, I think maybe you wouldn't be human. And if you were, that would be some accomplishment of worthy note. I don't believe it's possible, maybe even don't think it's possible. But to the best of your ability, I started in part 1 saying something that, like, this situation of looking at my day, whenever I look at it, or however many times during that day, 24-hour period, I look at those previous 24 hours, say, right up to the moment, is number one, when I'm really on my game and thinking well, which I'm not today, I say the 7-step prayer, which for me goes something like, please God, put it this way, because I like levity. The astronaut's prayer from way back in the 60s, Project Mercury maybe, in the United States of America. The astronaut's prayer, I would have to use the foul word, and I'm not going to bleep it out, so I'll stuff one in there. Please God, don't let me fudge this up. Simple, direct prayers like that are effective. Whether they're more effective than some elaborate, great big thing, I don't know. We're not talking about that. What I'm talking about is that if I can avoid screwing up the day, help me, God, to not screw up the day. Let me behave in a way that you might. And that just sort of starts me thinking that this other human being, they're probably doing the best they can. They don't need to get a bunch of my negative stuff on them today. So on the lowest level of energy output, the laziest way, the easiest way that I occasionally, the way I'm putting it today is that even if somebody's doing something that is really pressing my button and I want to do stuff towards them, or even think crossly about them, just do none of that, because that would be the laziest way to go about it, and then that's easy, and then that's just lazy, and that's fine sometimes, and it's good for me for a lot of things like this. Because even if I start thinking about doing wrong, okay, and so anyways, this, man, did I say yet in this video I had some caffeine? It's jacking my brain up. I've been hijacked. This is not caffeinated. This is not caffeinated. Actually, no, this might be. That's a problem. Let's get it out of arm's reach, at least easily. And there, problem solved. Prevention of bad, ugly, cross stuff during the day would be the way to go. it takes a lot of energy, effort, dedication, prayer, meditation, intelligence, patience to do that. So do those things. Maybe you're human, just a regular human like me, and you don't want to do that stuff, and it's too hard sometimes to do all that. And you lose your temper, that stuff keeping you in line. You lose that, and you freak out, and you at somebody. Right then, promptly admit that you're wrong. Say, I'm sorry, I lost my head, whatever it is, to the best of your human ability. I'm a Christian, there's something else involved here that it's like, well, maybe you're more than human. I'm not going to try and unpackage that here. So, the laziest, easiest way is just, when I wake up in the morning, just, God help me to do your will, and I don't want to be hurting people. Because that's at the very least, if I don't positively impact anybody or anything during the day, fine. Just don't let me hurt stuff during the day and make things worse. And then it takes self-control and restraint. And I need to be watching what I'm thinking about and how I'm interacting right on the spot. And that keeps me in line. Now, the thing about yesterday's baggage is that if I just, like in part 1 of this video, I tried to illustrate a very poor picture of myself, that among the worst that I could come up with, imaginarily, I'm forgetting why. Oh, and then I would want to have a drink because I'm such a cruel, evil person. Back in the old drinking days. Oh, being self-restraint, don't flying off the handle, this kind of thing. That begins early in the morning. First thing, I don't want to do that today. Just have that thought. Something along those lines. 7-step prayer. You can look it up somewhere. I'm not going to, because I'll lose what I'm thinking about here. Endeavor to do, it's the doctor's creed thing. Who was it? Some old Greek philosopher guy, right? First, do no harm. That's pretty simple. Just don't do harm. It's simple, but it can be difficult, because if you're human, a lot of stuff is going on up here, and it gets ugly fast in a hurry. And then if you're an alcoholic, well, whatever. I do all the bad, ugly stuff, or when I do, I want a way to feel better right away. That used to be alcohol. Nowadays, before I go to sleep, I review the day. And I think about how I behaved and the interactions I had. Remember today's reading? I don't even know if I read it on this part yet. Let's read that. Be a good time to talk about yesterday's baggage and why. Let's read the 10th step. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And today's reading, October 5th, 2025, is called Yesterday's Baggage. For the wise have always known that no one can. There you go. For the wise have always known that no one can make much of his life until self-searching becomes a regular habit, until he is able to admit and accept what he finds, and until he patiently and persistently tries to correct what is wrong. And that you can find that in the 12 by 12 book, The 12 Steps, the 12 Traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous, on page 88. This writer goes on to say, I have more than enough to handle today without dragging along yesterday's baggage too. I must balance today's books if I am to have a chance tomorrow. So I ask myself if I have erred and how I can avoid repeating that particular behavior. Did I hurt anyone? Did I help anyone? And why? Some of today is bound to spill over into tomorrow, but most of it need not if I make an honest daily inventory. I mentioned something about what would be wrong with the positive stuff spilling over. Well, let's just set that aside because a new thought here. Some of today is bound to spill over. Likely the negative, ugly, bad behavior that you did yesterday is going to spill over in today, waiting for you, hot and fresh. As soon as you wake up, it's like, and it can really be an issue. That's why I used to drink in the morning. Long time ago, 20 years ago. That's why I would drink at noon and during the day and at the end of the day and all night long, is because the yesterday's baggage, man. I never ever tried to fix it. And then I kept making the same mistake each day. So because I never asked myself, did I do anything wrong because it hurt too much? Because it's just like, yeah, first thing this morning you did something wrong. And then all the judgment and criticism against myself, and that propelled the thirst for alcohol, for self-destruction probably more properly. And alcohol was just a way of doing that, a symptom of, other underlying, I don't want to get all into that. The daily inventory. Take one. See what you find. What did it say here? The wise. If you want to be wise, this is one suggestion. The wise ones have always known that until self-searching of your behavior on a regular basis happens, and you're able to admit and accept what you find, good and bad, and then you patiently and persistently try to correct the good and the bad. Correcting the good might be, let's have more of that. The bad would be, let's quit harming other people, number one, and then maybe stop harming me first, and then stop harming everybody else, and then start trying to do better and good, or something. What I just said. First, do no harm. 7-step prayer kind of thing in the morning, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. Like I said, the astronaut's prayer, help me from effing up today. Done, amen. Thank you in advance. And then realizing later in the day, 10 seconds later, you said that prayer. Now wait for it to happen and come true. You said it, it's going to work. Have faith. And don't engage with your emotional thing that just wants to strangle the guy next to you or the woman or whatever the thing is because you're having a rough time with today or too much caffeine or whatever it may be, because all that all leads right back to an alcoholic death. It's how I've started to there was a point where I started smoking again in my life for various reasons, none of them good or right or anything, none of them helpful, and then I quit. And then the next time somebody offered me some kind of cigarette or cigar or pipe or whatever it was, I'm like, no, because that's going to lead to heroin. Because I know who I am, and I'm not doing any of that now. And if I get started on something simple, it's going to be a gateway drug. You're just chipping away at my discipline, whoever them, just, I won't make the allowance to let that into my life any longer. And it takes a lot of effort, patience, what's this thing here? Patiently and persistently trying to correct what is wrong. I have more than enough to handle today. Just say for that one example, I'm a non-smoker right now today for over a year, or just under a year, somewhere around over 11 months. And there have been hard days with that, with not smoking. I've been sober away from alcohol for 19 plus years, and the first 2 years were miserable. Yet, here's the two things I did. I didn't drink, and I kept going to meetings. As not helpful as the meeting seemed, I kept going, and stuff started sticking here and over here and a little bit in the back and some here, and it's like after about 2 years, oh wow, I should get a sponsor. Really made a lot of sense to me. And then I started doing the steps in order and thinking about them, that like I need to, did I really do step 1? You know, that kind of questioning. A daily inventory started happening just kind of naturally to gauge where I was at, because I was lost. Still lost to some degree. Yesterday, here, let me read this again. I got 15 minutes here. Yesterday, for the wise have always known that yesterday's baggage. Let's not have yesterday's baggage in today, because I have more than enough to handle today, without dragging along yesterday's baggage too. I must balance today's books if I am to have a chance tomorrow. If I'm even to have a chance tomorrow, I need to be square with today, and that means I don't need to drag all any of the bad stuff from yesterday over into today and add it to the ledger of bad stuff that I already might still am trying to work on. Or say I used to have a 1,000,001 things wrong with me at the beginning, and then each day I just tried to remove, I had 1,010 things wrong with me, and then the first day I got rid of one thing that was wrong with me, and then the next day I had 1,009 things, right? And over the first 10 days I still had 1,000,000 things left. I don't need to keep dragging stuff from yesterday into today. So that's where I brought up this thought that, well, if you can prevent the wrong, the bad, the ugly, the cross, the angry, that stuff from even happening, which I don't, humanly, that's extraordinarily difficult. So it might happen. What did it say? It's bound to spill over into tomorrow, but some of today, say, usually it's the wrong stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, the cross, the angry, the negative, happens to spill over, and then I labeled that a steaming fresh helping of regret, maybe, in the morning. It's an ugly way to start the day. We need help with that. I used to be 1,010 things wrong, and then I had 1,009, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. It's still 1,000,000 things wrong. I don't need to start the day already with a bunch of things, because I'm still trying to work out all the other stuff, right? That's the promptly admitting it, the 10th step thing here. I continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Let's go down this trail a little bit more, because eventually this will all work out. All this scatterbrained stuff will start to gelatinize. This is what I said earlier in the month, that let's learn how step 10 might incorporate these several, maybe 4 things, and help us and help others. During the month, let's do this together. So if we're continuing to take personal inventory, that means I'm not looking at your inventory, I'm looking at my behavior, my inventory. And I'm continued from when? I like to think maybe it's, I think the only other time that they mention inventory is step 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And again, of me, not of you. I don't know that it says this is written down, but write that down. Write down a list of what maybe you think your moral. If you're making a fearless, see, it goes on and on and on. Fearless and searching. That's sincerely looking at yourself, wondering why I do these things that aren't helpful, and why do I regret them, and then why in the morning is it still on my plate, hot and fresh, waiting to hijack my day in a way that isn't going to be helpful for anybody, really. And then I got an issue with that, because I think all things are helpful. Even the worst, bad, ugliest, that can happen, you can at least use that as a gauge. Well, I didn't like that. I don't want to cause anyone else to have to suffer that. So that's good, I think. It's horrible that it had to happen that way. That's like the school of hard knocks. I look at it that way. And if you can find a written example, or you can listen to a story of somebody else's follies or mistakes and failures, and then how they tried to correct that, or at least stop doing the same one over and over, that's a lot easier than having to do it yourself. Sometimes, though, the school of hard knocks is the only way some people are going to understand something, and they just have to do it themselves to understand. A lot of addiction issues seem to work that way. It doesn't have to be that way, though. Oh boy. I don't know if I've made any kind of sense here today, really, because I had some caffeine today. Real caffeine. Part of an energy drink. And I knew this was going to happen. I did it anyways. Go figure. This is non-caffeinated. I'm thirsty. Oh, these pretzels are making me thirsty. You know what? I'm going to need to hang it up here on part 2. Oh, and like I said, eventually all this stuff will make sense, because we're talking about 10th step stuff, and I'm going to try and keep it hammered in there, even if it is sometimes a square peg in a round hole. So thank you for coming by here today, watching me struggle with this stuff. Maybe you're having a struggling kind of day. There's other videos to watch of mine. There's other videos of other people's that are way more helpful, probably. So go look at those. I like the guy at Trudge AA Daily Reflections. If you typed all that in, he's a solid guy, I think.